Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 16 of Confessions of a Market Maker. I'm your co-host, Ray, aka All Day Ray, aka Horseshoe Triceps. And I'm here with my shrewd co-host, a former malevolent market maker of 20 years, a man who now passes his days in the lively, affluent city of Regina, a man who is attempting to tame a bunch of degenerate short traders by educating them on the beauty that is market profile. The OG penny stock scumbag. I'm talking about JJ. JJ, how's it going?
Good, Ray. How are you?
I'm doing excellent as always. In the last episode, we had on Ball Street Trading CEO and founder Scott San Amaterio. He worked at Credit Suisse for 15 years during the housing crisis, former online poker grinder, Sitins Go Scotty. What were your takeaways from last week, Jay?
I really thought it was great having him on the show. It's, rarely do we have access to what we call the white shoe guys, and he was right in the middle of it. And he's actually, he actually knew the mechanics of how that garbage was put together because he was the one who actually worked on the documents. So it was fascinating to talk to someone, and for someone who worked at that level, most of those guys, and I don't want to be rude, but they have a bit of an attitude. He was really down to earth. He was just like one of the guys, and it was a pleasure having him on the show. And it gave a lot of
Exactly.
good insight too.
Exactly. Humble guy. Seems very diverse, sharp. It was definitely a pleasure having him on. And so today we're going to be discussing my retail trading experience up to this point, what I've learned, what I still need to learn, my successes, my failures, etc. JJ will be giving his thoughts on my progress, what I'm doing well, and where I need to improve. With the idea that things that we'll be discussing will pertain to the audience that are either new to trading like myself or who are struggling to find their footing with consistency. And so with that said, JJ, I'll open up the question to you.
Sure. Well, I've been watching you look at profile now for about, I'd say, 2 months, right?
Yeah, I
And
don't know,
not
yeah,
even
a month and a
and
half maybe.
you did have your adventures in penny stock land, right?
Yeah,
And you found that really wasn't trading at all.
yeah.
And the concepts that the profile has been showing you, I've found that you've been really picking it up quite quickly. And you know, even what are difficult days, I've noticed, we'll be sitting there in the room and I'll kind of poke at you and go, Ray, what are you seeing? And he goes, and you'll just be like, I'm just watching this. I can't really figure it out, but I'm just watching it, trying to put it together. And
Mm-hmm.
that's probably one of the better answers that I keep hearing. And I've noticed that from quite a lot of the people in the room too, who have never even looked at these alien hieroglyphics that we call market profile. And I think watching price action and having people sort of point that out to you, it's sort of sinking in. I noticed from when I started doing this by just reading and watching videos, uh, I found my learning curve was a lot steeper than what I'm seeing people now. Um, you know, pick it up. They
Yeah.
it's pretty interesting, and I think you don't really tilt too often, and you don't. The one thing I've noticed is that your discipline has been pretty exemplary, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks.
I've got to say, there'll be a lot of times where you're like, no, 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 I'm not trading this. I'm not trading this because I don't see it and I don't understand what's going on. And I think, I think that's really, really helped your progress. I wouldn't really have any criticisms
Mm-hmm.
of your progress because you're just kind of doing it by the book. Take every day, look at the price action, look at what the structure of the market's telling you, right? And it's only been 6, 7, 8 weeks. I think you're doing really well, as are quite a lot of the people in that room. I'm really very pleased with how quickly people are, it's one thing to say they're taking profitable trades, but the other thing too that really makes me happy is when people go, you know what? I don't like this price action. I'm just going to sit out, right? Or I'm going to take the dog for a walk. To hell with this, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that really pleases me because in so much of retail trading, I think we always try and force it, right? Force our idea on what the market should do and then take a trade, or feel like we're not working because we're just sitting there watching.
Right.
And that's what I'm finding really really cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's a tough, you know, rope to walk, like between, at least for myself, am I being patient or am I being scared?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And, I rather play, err on the side of caution right now.
Hmm.
But as I've been progressing, like we were talking about before on the podcast, I got stopped out earlier today on a short,
Yep.
but 5 minutes later, the trade would have worked beautifully.
Yeah.
Market started just going down at, quick rate. So, I get, now that I'm more into, the thick of things from even when we first started the podcast, I'm starting to understand, the trickiness that goes behind it. And I'm also trying to also keep my ego in check, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
That to not be like, oh, like I'm picking this up, like great, or like, oh, I know this. I'm gonna go in, start adding size,
Yeah.
because I've had a few successful trades. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to fight that, because I know it will humble me quick, and I've already been humbled a few times already. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. No,
And
your journey's it's good. It's almost textbook, which is very pleasing. But what's been lacking is that crazy emotional, like, which I see a lot of in retail trading and have
yeah,
experienced myself quite a bit. And you seem to be avoiding that, which is a very good thing.
yeah, yeah. No, I hope so. I mean, it's not like I'm like some like I would like to think poker, that's what one thing poker did help me with, because, we talked about this before, having to deal with your demons, how trading will bring out your demons. I had years of experiencing that with poker. You know what I'm saying? But that's not to say like it still doesn't bother me. Like today, I had to walk away from the computer
Yeah, so did
after I lost that trade. I was like, I'm done. I was fuming.
I. Yeah.
I mean, but I guess a good thing I didn't, go back to the computer. But the thing that, and I'll ask you this is like, how do I calm myself down? Because I'm sure there were some good trades I could have missed because I wasn't in front of the computer. Or is that a bad way of looking at it?
No, it's actually, there's nothing wrong with that. The thing is, and we always question ourselves, right? If I stop trading now, will I have missed a good trade? But when you get stopped out, you need to clear your head and follow your process. But if you're not feeling like you're seeing the market, there's no reason to follow your process into a string of losers, right?
Yeah,
For
right.
example, today, I honestly couldn't trade my way out of a wet paper bag today. All right. I
Mhm.
didn't see it. I saw that move in A period and B period. Profile people, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I had 47, 29, 47 and a quarter as a level that I've traded many times before. We got a few ticks above it and then we couldn't find acceptance over it. I should have been short, right? But the one
Mhm.
time framing up kept me from shorting, so I had
Yeah.
two sets of rules going off in my head, my level, but then what the market was telling me. And then the most important thing was that I didn't trust myself. This morning, I didn't feel, first of all, I felt really, honestly, quite stupid this morning. I did not feel like I was on the ball. We had a long night last night, and not to make excuses, but last night I had a couple of good ones when the market fell apart right at the open on that, that sort of, that yo-yo thing that we did, the
Mm.
slingshot when they pulled back
Yeah,
the
that was
rubber band
nuts.
all the way,
Yeah, it was crazy.
on that goofy fake. I don't know what kind of news. I don't know what's going on in the world with that, but I executed very well then, but I couldn't today. And so I realized that and I said, you know what? I'm just going to go back to the basics and back to the book. And I just started writing out. What do I see? I see value building higher. I see the point of control higher. We filled the gap and we are, finding acceptance above the gap. Where's price being accepted? And then when we had that price probe lower, in the middle of the day there, J period for you profile people, we looked into the previous day's range and rejected out. So that told me that, when we dipped back down, traders saw that as a bargain and rushed in to buy it.
Hmm.
So that told me that price is definitely being accepted higher. Now we did not break out of that August balance range. We looked above it and failed and came back in, but value was definitely higher. And we put in 11 half-hour periods just under 29.38. Sorry to be technical for people who don't trade futures, but that to me told me that price was being accepted at higher levels. And so I just kind of tore apart that, my, you know, the fact that I couldn't see, and I just started going, okay, what can I see? Right? I can
Hmm.
see this, I can see this, and I can see this, and I'll carry that forward, for the Globex session and for tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
the good thing is I didn't waste any money, right? I didn't pull the trigger at all.
For sure. For sure. The capital preservation
Yeah.
first and foremost. It really is a battle every day with yourself. Like it's tough, man. But in having that self awareness, like how, for yourself, Jay, like how long did that take to cultivate, like within yourself? To like no, like you at least have the humility. You even I know we talked about this on the podcast before that you coming from the other side thinking like, oh, this is going to be easy. You're gonna be able to come in just start printing money. How
Oh
long did
yeah.
it take you to and you still have that humility to this day that oh, I can't see the market, I'm just gonna sit back.
Yeah, that's taken. I've been retail trading now for 4 or 5 years, and it didn't really that the being able to go, what, I'm not trading today, and not feeling bad about that. That's only been the last sort of year or the last 18 months, quite honestly, because I would
Hmm.
beat myself up. I'd be like, oh, you missed that. Oh, you missed that. Idiot, foolish, right? And now I'm like, okay, I missed that. Why did I miss that? What was I focusing on? Was I fixating on something? Sometimes I'll see something like a poor high in the market or a poor low, and I'll fixate on that, thinking that will go and get repaired, and it doesn't. And then I'll miss like 3 or 4 trades afterwards. So I'll write that down in my in my notebook. I was fixated on this and that I missed that. And I sort of look at my, I look at my brain like like a 1976 British sports car where the wiring's bad, and and I'm always looking for where it shorts out. So if I look at it more like that way and try and be scientific about it, it kind of helps me from beating myself up. But the calmness that Jim Dalton talks about, where you sit back and you're not like leaning into your monitors like you're trying to jump into the market. That took a while. That really took a while. And every once in a while too, I'll be like, you idiot, why aren't you trading? Right. And that'll creep back in. So it's always something you fight. But a lot of people do say that I am calm. And I think that calmness has only come as more and more and more I decided to trust structure. Today, I didn't trust the structure and I didn't trust the price action that this market was showing me. So I realized that there was some sort of conflict in my lizard brain, and I was like, you know what? There's no point in risking any money today, because the most likely thing is going to happen is I'm going to put a trade out there, I'm going to get stopped out, then I'll try and fix it and get stopped out again, and then that's going to destroy my emotional capital, right?
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
um, and and that's something. So I try, and it's a really kind of a weird thing, but I always try and like look outside myself, and I look at and see, okay, you're acting like this. Why are you acting like this? And also, I think yesterday when I got in on the Globex, I didn't really think about it. I knew that 82 and three quarters or was a level. It's a level that I've traded quite a few times down there, and so I knew. I just instinctively went in. I didn't even really think about
Hmm.
about it. I was in the room
Right.
and we were talking, and I said, "Look, if it breaks this, it's going to go to 82 and three quarters." And I went there to the tick the very first time.
Yeah.
Uh, and it was just instinctive. Today, I was overthinking everything, and I had too many different thoughts going through my head, and my wires got crossed.
Yeah.
So I thought, yeah, it's best that I leave the car in the driveway because we have bad electrical.
Well, I think it's that sludge coffee you've been drinking lately in the morning.
Yeah,
It
I
has
think
kicked
that's
off
too.
for you.
I was cheap. I bought the half price coffee, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, yeah. Go back to the Italian one.
Yeah, I
Um,
know.
but something else I wanted to talk to you about because I want to get your thoughts and opinion on developing a trading style. And this is something I am trying to refine, right? It's like I'm finding from week to week, maybe even day to day, I'm still trying to hone in on it because there seems like there's a lot of different successful trading styles out there, and it's kind of incorporating it with your personality. So what are your thoughts, and what would help me, and what guidance would you give to me and the listeners out there?
I definitely would say take your time with that. Right, your trading style really depends. What I have found, it depends on your personality. Um, Before I got into this crazy industry, I was a very laid back, calm person, right? The nightclub that I worked at in Vancouver when I was a bouncer, I never even had to hit anybody in 2 years, right? The worst thing I had to do was maybe wrap up somebody and carry them outside. That was it. I never had to fight. I've had a very, very calm demeanor. When I got into the financial markets, I noticed that I became a bit more type A personality. And maybe I wasn't comfortable with that. So when I got into trading, that kind of came out, and I try and take these fast trades or scalp or do those things, and it didn't work out. So I finally went back to you know the fact, and the profile really helps. Once again, I sound like a salesman for profile, but I'm just telling you how it helped me. Letting a market develop, letting the structure unfold as the day goes by. And, there are sometimes you see those trades earlier in the day. But for me, I find a lot of the times, once I see the structure and I see what the order flow is laying out and what the structure is laying out from the order flow, I can see things a little better, and it calms me down, and I can take a longer trade or a structural trade. And, and sometimes I can even sit in a trade when we have normal market conditions.
Hmm.
I could sit in a trade and manage it a little bit better. Um, but to find your trading style, it takes a little while. And we had Canny on the show, and he's changed his trading style since he moved to the West Coast, and he's working on that. So I think that's kind of like a lifelong thing. And you just kind of have to, you have to keep knowing yourself. And I mean, you've only been doing this for a couple of months now, so it, it I find that your style is very similar to mine in a lot of ways, and maybe that's because we're in the same room where you kind of let things kind of develop a little bit before you jump in.
Sure, sure. Yeah, no, I like what you said as far as just trusting the structure, trusting the profile, and letting that dictate the trade. Was I hearing you correctly?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's been my that is um that is the one thing that has saved me. I definitely think it's saved me from stroking out and having another heart attack. Uh,
Yeah.
because like I was really worried after my heart surgery when I started retail trading. When I take a trade, my heart would go into this weird arrhythmia, and I'd have to go and lie down. I would get this rapid heartbeat, and I don't get that anymore from trading, which is really, really nice. And that's, thank God for Jim Dalton. And last night too, when that market sold off and then started one time framing up, I was telling people, please do not get caught short. And I even tweeted last night, the only thing I know is thank God for Jim Dalton, because what he has taught me, has kept me out of so many bad situations.
Hmm.
It's like that guy, and you're walking in a new city, and he goes like, don't go down that street. right? You're gonna get mugged, right? They're bad guys waiting there to take your wallet and beat the living you know what out of you. And that's what Mr. Dalton's like. It's he keeps you from going down those dark alleys. You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely. Shout out to Jim Dalton, and let's not
always.
forget the unsung hero Jenny as well. Shout out to both of them. Much love for them. Another thing, JJ, I find that I don't struggle as much with this anymore, that now that I'm able to develop my own thoughts for trade location, and things of that nature. But what I imagine others struggle with, and I mean, even myself too, I'm not act like I'm like totally, scot free of this, but, especially for people in trading rooms, right? Everyone has different ideas. Everyone has different styles.
Hmm.
How do you how do you prevent yourself from being influenced, you know, to your detriment, if
That
I'm making sense?
No, 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 that makes complete sense. I was a guest in a trading room about oh, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. It's actually the reason why I got a Twitter handle, and because they required me to have one to gain access to the room, and I was in there for 2 weeks, and there were really good people in there. Nothing I could say bad about them. The thing is, I got influenced so much by them because I would have a thought in my head or my analysis, and they'd say something against it, and I'd go, "Oh, geez, that guy's smarter than I am, right? I screwed up," and I would trade his trade, and I would lose money, right? And in the end, I was right. Not saying that he was, I was smarter than him or anything, but in my head, I saw the market a certain way, and I saw what was happening a certain way,
Hmm.
and the other thing too is that was a year and a half ago where I did not have that year of sitting in front of the screen, right? That extra year, which really helped solidify my thesis in trading. Like these are trades to take, and I do find that even in the last room I was in, there were a couple of guys in there, and they'd go short, and I'd be like, yeah, you know what, this guy's been doing this for 30 years. I'll go short too, but this guy's trading options, right? So you'd get stopped out, and then I learned that lesson. Oh, I did that before, you know.
Hmm.
So it's it is very easily it's very easy to get influenced. And it still happens. Like sometimes I'll be in a trade, and somebody will have taken the opposite position, and you'll doubt yourself, right? But I think the more screen time you have, and everything seems to be a function of sitting in front of this screen. I have had the luxury of doing so for basically 3 or 4 solid years, every day and night, sitting in front of this screen and watching the profile, watching how price behaves at certain references. So that's pretty solid in my head. So when people say something like that, if they shout out a trade idea or I'm long, I'm short, I'll look at it, and the first thing I'll do is how is price behaving around his thesis, around what he was trying to do, right? And if it's but I will never trade now on, it's just a rule, right? It's like, never take a stock tip from a penny stock promoter, right? So, don't trade, you just, as soon as you start feeling influenced. And one thing I found that's kind of helped is when I feel biased or I feel influenced or I feel that I'm not seeing it, I'll say it out loud, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You do
And
that all the time. Yeah,
I do it all the time, and that just, and people in our room, right? I'll go, I'm very short biased, or I'm very long biased, or I'm really inclined to do this, and I don't think that's the right thing to do. And then if I go later on, I'll go and try and do that, and they'll go, "Hey JJ, you said this half an hour ago, right? Have you changed what you're thinking?" And I'll be, "Oh no, no, you're right, you're right." So
yeah,
I'll have people there to keep me in line, to check me.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, I really enjoy having others to even bounce ideas off of, or to check with you. Hey, JJ, am I seeing this clearly? Am I seeing this the right way?
Yeah, that is
So
nice.
it's, yeah, it's definitely, I would say, a net positive for sure. Being in a chat room, it's just learning. And I'm trying to just summarize what you say, or just make sure I got correct what you said. Cultivating your own confidence in that you're seeing things correctly the right way, not relying on others, and you develop that through screen time.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely, and it's like the people who sell level services, and nothing wrong with them. They have their business, I'm not, but for me, I can't trade somebody else's level because people will always ask me about my level. I'll call out a level or I'll look at something and I'll say, we're going to get a little responsive buying or selling there. And they're always like, "Oh, tell me about your levels. Tell me about your levels." And I
Yeah, we get
usually,
this five times a day. Yeah,
you
5 times
know,
a day in your
and
room. Yeah.
I kind of slough it off to, oh, these are just, I just lucked into this, right? And because I don't want people to focus on that. I want people to understand, how to come up with their own levels and to watch how price behaves at their own levels, which will either validate that level or you toss it out. And that's really how I've looked at this over the last 4 years. Because what if you have my levels and tonight I get hit by a bus, right? You're not going to have those levels tomorrow. And so you really need to be able to figure this stuff out for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's I see the goal of this education thing that I'm running. The entire goal of what I'm trying to do is make myself obsolete,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
You come to me, I show you how to, you know, start to look at a market. You go and you take a Dalton intensive. You look at the services that Shadow Trader offers as well, and you start becoming your own sort of think tank, right? Your own
Exactly.
independent thing. And
Exactly.
eventually you're like, JJ, thank you. I'm off on my own. My goal is to become obsolete. I don't want, people paying, for 20 years, right? I want to make people independent, right? That is my goal, right? To make independently thinking traders who look at markets objectively and are able not to control their emotions, but at least to understand their emotions, why they're feeling that way, and be able to be in charge of their own destiny.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And it's for sure the best way to teach or to learn. And but it's also not at the same time not easy. And a thing that I'm fighting with myself again, and I feel like this is the whole thing. It's right. It's like this retail trading, me learning to become a profitable trader. It's just a battle with myself, really. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, yeah, get the technical skills down, learn how to read the chart, but then after that, it's going to be me versus me,
Oh yeah,
and bringing up patience, right? And this made me think of it just because what we were just talking about, and the way you teach, you are trying to teach us to think for ourselves. The same thing with Dalton and Peter, like you mentioned. But learning that way is also going to have to take patience because it's not just going to happen right
oh
away.
yeah,
And that's the thing. I like, and when I was talking about ego before as well, it's like I gotta realize, like, hey, like, oh, you're just starting. You're only a month and a half into this. You're not
yeah.
just going to be printing money, but I want to start
Oh,
printing
of
money.
course.
You-
Well, the thing is, this is the money industry, right? And you got guys throwing around, market makers making 4 million a month, hedge fund managers making $800 million a year, people having their own planes, their own boats, and I'm talking yachts. I mean, so it's a money thing. So it's very hard to separate that from trading well,
yeah,
right? So yeah,
yeah,
I totally get it. You
yeah,
know, Uh,
yeah. Because it's like it's great. Like I'm glad you're saying I'm learning the right way. You're praising me, but I want the money. You know what I'm
oh
saying?
yeah, so do I. So do
Yeah,
I.
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
So.
do I miss those, $200,000 days? Yes, right.
Mhm.
Uh, and will they come again? Yes, right? Because I've been up and down, so I understand that. But here's the thing about the retail trading, the whole shtick here is that it is marketed in a way that it tells people quit your job and make your money from retail trading.
Right, which is ridiculous.
Is the biggest disservice you can do is tell someone to quit their job and they'll make it as a retail trader. I had a guy come to me and I've been talking to him and he's a really nice guy, but you can tell he has been through, and this is actually not just one person. There's about 4 people in the last couple of weeks. You can tell because they've gone to these online trading schools and spent a lot of money. Like, I'm not talking an insignificant amount of money. I'm talking $20,000, $30,000. And they have been taught some outrageous things that really, I mean, there should be some sort of regulatory body governing education in the financial markets and trading.
Yeah.
Not looking for more government regulation, right? But I'm just saying that some of the things that people are taught are just, I think it's cruel, right, to teach people that, and to take large amounts of money for them. So they come to me and they've been abused by other educators, and they're like, well, I don't want to really spend that much time learning profile if it's not going to be profitable. So immediately I know that
Yeah.
that person's head's not wired right. They're not ready for trading.
Right.
Or they're like, how much money can I make doing this? Like, no, you're
Just
not
don't
ready for
even.
this,
Yeah. Don't
right?
even bother. Yeah.
Right? Don't even bother. Like, just give it up, because,
Yeah.
or if I lost 25 to 80 grand or something like that, and I need to make it back, or, I'm only giving it 3 months, and if I'm not profitable, I'll go back to work. I'm
I
like,
hate the
just go
time
back to work
limits.
now.
Yeah. I hate
Just go back to work now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, don't even bother going through this, because it's not a get rich quick scheme. And for 300 years, they have been telling people it's a get rich quick scheme. And basically that's just leading you into the slaughterhouse so we can get you, right? That that's the goal of all of this, is to bring you into the fun house, put a blindfold on you, spin you around 3 times, and then we take your wallet,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So, and if they're not doing it in the market through penny stocks now, they're doing it in these sort of falsified trading education places. And, you know, so is this what this is what you were talking about earlier when I kind of went off the handle?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess this leads us into it. But yeah. To recap just what we were saying, you guys, you need to be, if you're going to do this, you need to be in this for the long haul. You need to have a long-term view of it. And yeah, just you have to keep that in perspective. And it's a battle I'm having every day. And so with that being said, we have a new segment on the show. We're calling it JJ's Hot Takes. I'm making the Canadian, the neutral, uncontroversial Canadian take a stance here on an issue. So here we go. This is JJ's Hot Takes. JJ, what's your hot take for today?
Well, I've got to say something about these YouTube videos that you see. I don't know why I keep getting these ads of this woman going, "I've got 3 easy setups." Right? First of all, come on, right? And then you look at some of the websites that some of these guys have out, and they're telling people not to use stops. Like, really? You're telling somebody who's never traded before not to put in a stop loss
And
because they
especially
could
in these
miss the
markets.
action,
Oh my god.
right? In this, like, really? Like, you know what? If I met you in real life, I'd give you a shot in the head for that. That is like, that is the worst thing you could say to somebody. Or trading is as easy as 3 easy setups. Like, that is like almost criminally irresponsible to be giving advice like that out to people, or telling people to take 3 trades and you can lose $150 on each trade, and you can lose what, $600 a day, right? That adds up,
Yeah.
right? I've heard these things coming from places where they charge people thousands of dollars for this quote unquote knowledge, right?
Hmm.
Now, I, you know, I don't begrudge people trying to make money, but at least don't go out there and spread this nonsense, okay? And some of these people with these educational quote unquote programs, and there's a disclaimer in this. I have my own room. We do charge people, but it's like 2 cups of coffee a day for a month, right? Is what I charge.
Hmm.
So compared to 25 grand or 30 grand, if you're going to do this and sell people education, don't be a dick. Okay, and tell them not like that is excuse my language, that is just a dick move when you tell people not to use stops, when you tell people that trading is easy as 1 2 3,
Yeah.
right? That is, you're just being a total jerk off. Like, cut it out, right? And and people out there, it's buyer beware. Before you look at these services, go find out if the guy has ever like if this guy would know a trade desk if he tripped over one, right?
Hmm.
What did you used to do before? Oh, I used to trim trees. Now I'm teaching trading. Or not nothing against tree trimmers. I knew a successful promoter, who made hundreds of millions of dollars, who was a tree trimmer.
Uh-huh.
But I'm telling you, go and do some research before you lay down heavy duty money with these people, and go check it out, and take some time and learn the market yourself before you pay somebody to teach you. And that includes me too,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Check me out, look at my YouTube videos, but for the love of God, use stops, right? And here's another thing I heard. Oh, I don't use stops because I don't want them to see my order. I'm like, what are you trading 10,000 contracts and you don't want to show your hand? No, I'm trading a contract on the micro. It's like, buddy, really, they don't care about that, right? Right? Put in a stop, because in this environment, in this fake news, weird news, tweety environment that we have, that I have never seen before, this market swings and acts ridiculously crazy. I mean, look at today. We closed at 29.42 today, and then in the maintenance section, somebody put out some news that everything was all wine and roses and unicorns and rainbows, and we're up to 29.49, right? So just be careful out there. Put in stops. And if you don't understand what's going on, like I didn't today, don't trade. Just chill out, right? And make notes and watch price action, because what you see today will help you put the picture again together tomorrow, and you'll actually be able to profit off of it.
Hmm. Great stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed that. We're gonna have to make this a reoccurring segment. That was great. So, JJ, before we jump into the listener questions, would you like to comment on the current market conditions?
Uh, I am not a market strategist. Okay. And I'm going to preface this. I have no formal finance or economics background. Okay. So, but what I am is I'm a huge believer in market structure. And what I am seeing is a repeat of August with these wild swinging ranges. And I would advocate people. I don't know how the poor swing traders are dealing with this. When the shadow trader, swing trader guy, Dan O'Shea, who's a very sharp guy, tells you he doesn't know what to do right now and he's going to chill out, I agree with him. Even day trading the last 2 days has been kind of wonky with what's going on in Washington and the news cycle. And it almost feels like the trading in the last 2 days has been some sort of, a front running of a leak that's coming.
Hmm.
And it's very shady. I don't, even as the market, ticks higher and moves higher, something's very shady about this price action. So be careful out there. Use stops. If you don't see what's or understand, or if you can't figure out where your destinations are because they are far and wide, don't trade. Just chill out, because you know what? The market's not going anywhere. It'll be there the next day. And then wait for those trades that are obvious to you, that fit in to what you have, what you've been doing successfully.
Hmm. JJ, what do you think about me learning in these conditions? Is this going to make me a better trader? Is it going to be maybe mess me up a little bit because this is not standard? What do you think about it?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because last night when we sold off violently in the Globex, I felt wonderful, because it felt like my crazy penny stock days when there was crazy volatility.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was basically, I was, like they say in the movie Highlander, I was thrown into a pit as a baby to fight for meat with wild dogs, right? That's how I learned how to trade. And so I felt very comfortable when things go completely bananas,
Sure.
right? I'm in my element. So this might actually be a good thing that
Hmm.
you are, because right now we're walking on eggshells every day. We don't know, like, we could gap up 20 points at the Globex in 3 minutes, right? Or we could gap down 20 handles and then swing wildly from there. Or we could just consolidate and do nothing all night, right? It's just you don't know what you're going to get, right? It's like a jack in the box, right? You don't know when this thing is going to pop, when it's going to drop, and then the other thing too is, unfortunately, we have a government that is on social media, which, and we have algos that parse every word of a statement, even if it's fake news. One final rant. Okay. When I was working with public companies, if a public company put out fake news, the FBI would be at their door the next day with SWAT and like 3 or 4 black SUVs with machine guns. Okay. They take that stuff very seriously. I don't know what happened, but now fake news seems to be okay. Right. When did that happen?
Yeah.
Right? And not only fake news regarding one public company and a false news release, but fake news that it covers the entire breadth of the market. So the damage is exponentially worse, right? But I don't see anyone regulatory wise wondering about that or even thinking about that. It's just kind of like la da 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 da. Okay, some fake news. We'll run it up. We'll run it down. You know, this is kind of baffling to me.
Mhm.
I don't know if anybody else finds it baffling, but in the old days, fake news was a federal offense. I mean, it was punishable by criminal. It was a criminal indictment for putting out false and misleading news.
Right.
So, whatever happened to that? Is that okay now? I don't know. It's just weird.
No idea. It sounds like you might have some conspiracy theories that you're thinking up.
I don't know what it is. I actually haven't even thought about it that far to get a conspiracy theory. I'm just like, what happened?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's like, this is okay now. I was like, okay, it's like they would allow face masking in the NFL. Like, just grab them by the face mask. It's okay now.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
it's,
Crazy stuff.
it's crazy. Yeah.
Crazy stuff, man. So yeah. So with that, we'll move. Now we'll move into the listener questions, and so the audience. Like I say, every week we encourage listener questions. You could DM me and JJ on Twitter. We always put out a thread on Twitter every week. You can submit your questions in the comments. We greatly appreciate them. We enjoy answering your guys' questions, any type of question. And so jumping into it, our first question comes from @tradingdonkey. Why are all these wannabe profitable traders getting their panties in a bunch over the algos? Traders are spewing all this algo nonsense on my Twitter feed that I'm thinking of finding another hobby to piss my money away. Thoughts?
Well, here's the thing about trading and trading. In the 80s, they were whining about program trading, right? In the 90s, they were whining about the SOS bandit or the small order execution bandits. So here's the thing about the market, right? If it was the same every day, we would just back a truck up, fill it with money, and drive away, right? Thank you very much. The market's job is to change. Our job is to keep up with it, right? There are algos, yes, right? There are, different black pools, all this nonsense, right? The thing is, you've got to get past that and figure out a way to trade and be profitable. And the market will change. The price action will change. How orders are routed will change. All of these things are dynamic and evolving every day. That's why I became a trader, because I have worked jobs where you sit and do the same thing every day. I worked for the federal government. I did these sorts of things when I was younger, and I didn't enjoy it at all, right? So, what you need to do is you need to put on your sort of professor hat and sort of learn how to pick apart what's going to work for you in this market, right? You're going to have to be aware of price action. If you trade on the day time frame and that price action changes, it changed dramatically over the last 2 days, how things are kind of spitting out, and how how the orders are coming in, and sometimes it's jerky. I remember when algos became very, very prevalent 4 years ago. I noticed the price action became very jerky all of a sudden. Now it's a little bit smoother, right? And you'd hear people going, "Ah, algo, algo, algo," right? It's like, man, you gotta keep up with it. You've got to keep up with it. And it's like Gunnery Sergeant Highway says in Heartbreak Ridge, man, we adapt and overcome, right? That's the only choice we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Amen. Adapt and overcome. Shout out to at Trading Donkey for the question. We appreciate the question. Next question is from at Jamie Trade. Can you explain what is inventory? What happened to the confession segment? You can throw a poker player confession in every now and then.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, thanks for the podcast. It's by far one of the best out there.
oh,
So
thanks. That's
yeah,
very
so thanks for that, Jamie. So he wants you to explain what is inventory.
okay. When we look at inventory, and it's usually, the easiest example is overnight inventory. It's really easy. You mark off the close in the ES or the S&P. You mark it off, and then you look and see where the trading in the overnight is compared to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, today we closed at what, 29.42, and our overnight inventory as we opened is long, because we have not, in the first 4 minutes of trading today, the inventory is above the close. And you can look at my Twitter feed, and I post examples of it all the time. That's as simple as it is. We look at overnight inventory compared to the close of the previous day, right? And if it's over the close, we say it's long. If it's under the close, we say it's short. And if it's back and forth, it's mixed. And why we look at that is because, as Mr. Dalton says, there's a 65 or 67. I'm not sure what the exact number is. There's a 67% chance that that inventory will correct when we open in the market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're gonna be keeping track of that, Jim. So hopefully the numbers are right. We're taking notes now. I want to test them numbers. Yeah, no, but yeah, he also wants to know, JJ, what happened to the confessions segment?
Well, the thing is, the last 3 or 4 podcasts, and then also me being on the Alpha Mind podcast, I was just kind of, I was thinking people are getting sick of me and my stories. So, but we will definitely have to come up with some confessions for the next podcast, because hopefully the next podcast will have one of my ex clients on, and that should be a little bit interesting, because we'll both have a lot to confess.
I'm sure it will. That'd be very entertaining, very amusing. And he said we could throw in a poker player confession every now and then. All right,
That would be good.
I might have to throw one in there for you, Jamie. Yeah. So thanks to at Jamie Trade for the question, and thanks for supporting the podcast. We appreciate it. Now, this next one, I don't know if this is a question. This was a comment left in the thread, but I'm gonna give the guy a shout out because I like this guy a lot. It's from at Bel Air Trader. He says, "My man Ray," and that's it. So
Oh,
I don't,
okay.
I don't know if it's a question, but yeah, shout out to the front running Frenchman. Next
The
time,
front running Frenchman.
yeah, the
Yeah.
front running Frenchman. Next time, Mo, actually leave a question. But I appreciate the love, though. Appreciate the love. With that being said, that's going to wrap up the podcast. JJ, any parting thoughts for the audience?
Be careful out there, people. This market is goofy, and keep your head on a swivel, like my offensive line coach used to say in the
Mm-hmm.
old days.
Mm-hmm.
Just be careful, and for the love of God, do not short when it's one time framing, and use stops. Okay, and
Yeah.
I will leave with that. Use stops.
Yeah. You stops, you degenerates. No shorting one time frame. With that being said, for the Gorilla of House Street, I'm the Donkey Whisperer. Be safe out there.
Have a good night.